culture. Be stylish. Be seductive. Be cynical. Cynical.
I am the Golden Gimp, and I am a cinematographer and photographer here in Los Angeles, Hollywood area.
And how'd you come up with that name?
It was kind of a joke. A friend of mine knew that I drove at the time a gold car, like a bright yellow car, and we jokingly made up a superhero called the Golden Gimp. And it's funny because that person was someone I worked with in a vanilla, just a friend, a work friend, and they had no idea that I was actually quite kinky. And I took that name and made the Golden Gimp. I just thought it was funny.
That's very cool. How'd you get into, I guess, fetish or alternative photography?
You know what? I've always been, I think, inherently kinky and drawn to that. I think most people are. They just can't deal with it, or they think it's taboo or whatever. But my personal life has been pretty kinky, and so I'm a cinematographer in a vanilla capacity. And so, I started, you take pictures of things that interest you, right? And so, I started, mostly taking selfies and videos of myself and sharing it, and sort of that caught on as the Golden Gimp. And that progressed, to me, for me taking, pictures and videos of other of models and stuff. So,
I could definitely relate to your story. Did you explore kink like for a while before you transitioned to trying to photograph
oh
subjects
yeah,
besides
oh
yourself?
yeah, absolutely. Like I was saying, I think everybody, look at Catwoman, Michelle Pfeiffer in latex. Everybody goes crazy for her. Look at Kate Beckinsale in Underworld, right? I think it's a pretty normal thing to be like, oh, this is a gorgeous girl in latex, and it's very attractive. And I feel like more and more it's becoming more mainstream, but it's also potentially it's taboo and kinky. And when I was young, watching superheroes, and like I would imagine superheroes, but with bondage. You know what I mean? I don't know that
Right.
everybody was doing that. But and this was at a pretty young, innocent age. And I was like, so yeah, as soon as I started experimenting, and becoming sexually active in high school, like I was, drawn to kink, to bondage, to, uh, you know, um, to that. And as I moved to Hollywood when I was 18, and one of my first girlfriends, she was pretty kinky, and it was my first really kinky relationship. And we would switch, and it would became a really fun game of who was gonna dom who was gonna tie who up. You know what I mean? And it was like an extremely sexually eye-opening and awakening relationship, I think, for both of us.
I'm starting to notice like connections that I think those old Tim Burton Batman movies and the old Batman TV show, I think that led to some fetishism for some people or their introduction to it.
Absolutely. Like, here's this person in a spandex or latex outfit, like tied down, and there's sexual tension with the with what's going on, and it's hot, and I think that when people, even vanilla people in parts of the world or country that it's taboo see that. They're attracted to it, but they're not going to act out on it because it's, socially, taboo or something. But I do think that, like, I think Adidas just came out with a bunch of latex, and it's becoming more mainstream, certainly.
Yeah.
You see like Blake Lively was just out in a premiere in a gorgeous latex outfit. I think everybody finds it attractive. I don't think everybody can admit or act out on that.
Yeah.
So
In the beginning, did models approach you, or did you approach some models about doing like fetish theme shoots?
my first was a partner. Was a
Okay.
partner of my very first, actually before I even started shooting myself, was a partner in latex. And it was we were rented out one of those. Have you ever been to the Chateau Marmont? And we were staying there, and I brought my camera and the light, and just did an impromptu shoot. And that was my very first. I was already a cinematographer, and shooting things in a video capacity. But I've always loved photography. Is my probably certainly one of, if not my biggest. I don't really do it that much professionally, but I just love to do it. So that was my very first thing. Then I started shooting myself and filming myself doing things, and sharing it, and it caught on. Like, it caught on pretty well. And then I got asked to by other actual photographers, like Alexandra Katcha asked me to model for her, and Cy Williams asked me, and then like Torture Garden asked me to be on stage for a couple of the Torture Garden Los Angeles's, to be involved in the show. So really, I started as a Golden Gimp, started more as I guess model or persona that you would see. But in fact, I'm more of prefer being, and I actually never get in front of the camera anymore. I'm sorry, where were we? I
No,
went
that's
off on a tangent.
no, that's great to hear that. When you first started, was there photographers or even cinematographers that inspired your work?
I mean, Helmut Newton. I mean, if you look at Helmut Newton's work, it's gorgeous, and it's kinky, and it's amazing. I've always would rather go to a photo gallery than an art gallery. I appreciate fine art. I appreciate paintings. I appreciate photography more. I can, and it's kind of the same actually with books and movies. I prefer nonfiction. So I've been inspired by, and actually have had the opportunity to be a sorry, someone's calling in. I don't know if that's dropping me out, but
No worries.
I've had the opportunity to actually be a cinematographer for some fashion photographers and amazing photographers that I look up to and love their work, which is, pretty fantastic. But yeah, I like photography. For me it's just an art, and figuring out not only your equipment, but like light, and the fact that photography, when I shoot a video, you have to sit there and edit it, and like do the storyline, and put it together, blah, blah, blah. Photography tells the whole story in one snap, and it's just beautiful. I love it. I'm passionate about it, and Especially when I'm shooting, specifically like shooting film. With a roll of film, you get 36 snaps. With the price of film and the price of development, each time you click it, it's like $1, almost $2. So, and depending on what kind of film you're shooting and how it's being developed, it could be more. So every time you press that button, it has to mean something, and you have to be like, oh yeah, click. As opposed to shooting digital, I bust out my 5D. If I'm shooting an event, because I do shoot other things, I don't just shoot fetish. But if I'm going to shoot an event, a live event, I don't shoot digital rarely. I'll bring my 5D and I'll shoot like 600 photos, the spray and pray
Yeah.
method. And then you're sitting there going through 600 photos, picking out as quickly as possible the keepers. I certainly prefer shooting film and rarely shoot digital, and almost never shoot digital for the Golden Gimp anymore. Um,
Yeah, that was something I was gonna touch on with you later. Or I like to touch on this question with photographers is the difference between people who shoot a lot of images and then people who shoot very few images per shoot. So what is your mentality when you're working with film and you only have those 36 images? How do you know when
mo-
you need to click that shutter?
like most of my shoots these days is like 1 or 2 rolls, and that's all I'll bring. And I'll literally just show up most of the time with just my film camera, 1 roll, maybe 2, and 1 lens, and no lights. I prefer natural light. And my shoots normally I'll just have an idea. Literally, you've seen that. Like I'm constantly looking and going, wow, that'd be a great location,
Yeah.
driving around LA. I'm like, oh, that's cool. So a lot of times I'm busy. Models are busy. Everybody's busy. Nobody's getting paid. Like I don't shoot for money, and I don't work with models that want to be paid to do this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's like, you want to talk day rates. Um, so we're all volunteering our time to make cool art, and everybody's busy. So my shoots a lot of times take 30 minutes or less, and it's like I already have an idea of where we're going to shoot, what we're going to do. I might walk around a little bit and find, better lighting here or there, but in general, I already have an idea of what I'm going to do with this person, and a location, and it takes, like I said, like 30, like maybe 30 minutes, a meetup. I'll be like, meet me here. And yeah, I use the viewfinder to figure out my angle, and I do, some models are like really naturally amazing models and compose instantly, you know what I mean? And I don't have
Right.
to tell them to do anything, which is fab. Sometimes they take a little, direction, which is great. I am cool directing. So it all depends, but yeah, I'll literally take and move around and sometimes lie flat. I'm sure you've done it too. Like you're literally like lying in the dirt, or in a street on Sunset Boulevard, rolling around in the dirt, trying to get this angle that looks great, and then click, and then you move. You know what I mean?
So compared to shooting with the digital camera and then shooting with film, like is it a little bit more of a slower pace when you're like really trying to compose that shot instead of taking like, 5 or 6 shots and then like hoping one of those is going to be the one that you use like for that particular composition? Or
I
you
feel,
or is it more like you already know kind of what you want?
I feel like it takes about the same amount of time,
Okay.
because the only difference is with film, you're not just gonna press the shutter instantly, as soon, and just start, willy nilly, you know, uh, clicking. But with digital, you can't, right? And you're just like, in the time that I've shot 20 photos on a digital camera or more, I'll shoot one. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've shot models and be like, once I get that 36th final shot and you hear the film winding, I go, well, that's concludes our shoot. And they're like, really? That's it? I'm like, yep. And then, luckily, it's pretty great to, get that film developed and see. So far, it's been pretty amazing. Like, I get for one 36 roll shoot, a substantial amount of good picks. A lot of times you shoot 36 rolls, you hope for one or two good picks, right?
Right.
I think that, if you take your time and do it, that ratio goes up substantially.
And what type of camera equipment do you use? And you mentioned you don't really work with like lighting, just natural light.
Well, I have, because I come from a cinematographer's background. I only, when I do use lighting, I use constant lighting. I've never used flash. I don't really know how to use flash. I use constant lighting, but rarely do I even show up with a light. Most of the times I show up with my 35 millimeter Canon 1V. Do you know what that is?
No, I'm not sure.
The Canon 1V was like the very last top shelf pro film camera before the first 5D came out, and it was the last 35 millimeter pro camera that Canon made. And it's pretty spectacular. Can recommend. You have to buy them used. And then I have, I have a bunch of lenses. It's EF mount. So I have a bunch of EF prime lenses from cinema cameras, but my favorite lens is a Canon 50 millimeter 1.2 f-stop. It's super fast. You can get that dreamy, super shallow. You can literally have the tip of their nose in focus, but their eyes are blurry.
Oh, nice.
You have to be really on it with your focus.
Is 50 millimeter, is that the focal length that you prefer to work with for the most
Almost
part?
always. Yeah, almost always. Sometimes I use, it's like, okay, I want to see the background. Like I shot recently, Silky Skins, and she lived near the Hollywood sign, and I wanted the Hollywood sign in focus. So I used, a 24 to 70 2.8 zoom, because I didn't need it to be super fast. I just specifically didn't want it to be, with the blurry background. So a lot of times if I know, I really want to go wide or something like that, I'll use a 24 to 70 zoom, 2.8. But in general, most of my shoots, I'm using my 50 mil 1.2.
And do you prefer to shoot on location or in a studio or outdoors, indoors?
I prefer outdoors on a location as my favorite. Most of my work is going to be like that. I like cool backgrounds. Sometimes it's like, I've never really shot in a studio. Like I specifically don't really have any desire to shoot on a white cyc. Professionally, I've shot, fashion, vanilla in a vanilla capacity on a white cyc. Sometimes I'm shooting for someone and that's what they want and that's what we're doing and it's fine. But in general, I'm not a big white cyc fan. I know a lot of people shoot on those and, they have a big light, move it around, and I get it. What was the, I'm a Mac, I'm a PC.
Right.
commercials on the white cyc.
Yeah.
I mean, it's certainly been done, and I can still appreciate it, but it's not really my thing. It's not, I'm never going to be like, oh yeah, let's shoot it on a white cyc. I like interesting backgrounds. I like natural light. Sometimes if I do shoot inside, like someone's house, or they're like, oh, I'll bring like a little light with me. Or, I have like a little softbox battery operated, like I'll bring one soft light with me if I know I'm shooting in a location.
Now, let me ask you this. So, you prefer to shoot outdoors and on location. What about the time of the day? Do you have a certain time of day that you like to shoot? Do you prefer like daytime or nighttime shoots?
I prefer, I prefer earlier in the morning or as the sun's going down. But sometimes you don't, we all want what we want and what we get are sometimes not the
Yeah.
same thing. I remember I did a shoot with Shiny Lady, and we shot at my friend Razor Fists in Vegas, in his house, and then we shot in his pool. Really great stuff, came out fab. And then the next day I was leaving Vegas and I was like, okay, we'll shoot super early in the morning. There's that. If you've ever been to Vegas, on the outskirts of Vegas on the way to LA is this art installation called like Seven Mountains or something, Seven Magic Mountains. And I always drove past as I do and look and I go, ooh, that's cool. I think that would be fun. And so we had, me and, Shiny Lady had plans to meet there and shoot, as the sun was coming up. But of course, the shoot went late that night and, getting up in the morning and getting ready and stuff, she didn't get out in time. By the time she got there, it was like blown out and like 100 degrees.
Yeah.
Bright blown out light is never going to be your friend. Front lit.
Yeah.
I prefer like a little bit of a backlit or a side. So you need the sun to be kind of off to the side somewhere is my preference.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, how do your models deal with being in like latex out in the heat? Um,
I think a lot of them are experienced and are well aware. It's funny. My last shoot I just did this last weekend, with this model that had never done latex and reached out and was like, oh my God, I want to do latex so bad. And, we finally hooked up and she finally got a latex catsuit and didn't even know how to get into it. Like was like, oh, please, I'm going to, and I had to literally talk her through lubing up and, getting into it. She didn't even know we were going to shoot, but of course I'm like, I brought my camera and then she didn't have a hood or anything. I brought my gold gas mask.
Nice.
And then she had no idea how hot it was going to be and I was like, you're going to need water. And she's like, no, I'm not hot. And I could see literally there's a video. I took a phone video and there's water just streaming out of her zipper. I'm like, trust me, you are going to need some water. And so she figured that out on day one.
Yeah, I've definitely done shoots like that when I underestimated how hot it was going to be.
Oh yeah, man, it's like hot, and especially like in this luckily was nighttime, but it was still LA's been having pretty much of a heat wave. It was 93 degrees.
Oh, well.
And we were outside, but still just like now she knows.
For you, what do you think is the most important aspect of a photo?
So you work with models and they're, very obviously and understandably concerned with how they look and, whether it's their hair or, do they look, how they look. And for me, that's not what's important, composition and the overall feeling that you get from looking at it. And a lot of times, the best photo of the shoot, the composition, it's like, oh my God, this is gorgeous. And then, the model is doesn't see that and just gets. And listen, we're all human. Like we're all the same. Nobody, I'm sure 20 years down the road, they'll look at these photos and be like, oh my God, I was gorgeous. But it's just human nature
Yeah,
to be
self-critical.
self-conscious, self-critical. And me too. Like, I'm self-critical. We're all our worst critics. It's a struggle to appreciate what you have while you have it. And it's objective and your perspective. And you know speaking of being objective, another reason I don't really like shooting digital, sorry to change subjects, but this is something I wanted to touch on, is the editing process. And you shoot digital, some of these people shoot digital, and their editing process is amazing. And I see these people doing stuff that's like, oh my God. And they've obviously brought it into Lightroom and Photoshop and made it look so insane. And their digital editing skills, these filters they're putting on it and stuff, is so amazing. I can't do that. Like, I bring a digital camera into Lightroom and start messing with it, and I just can't make the decision. I'm like, I second guess myself. I'm like, oh, this looks fucking amazing. I'm like, ooh, but this looks even better. And it never ends.
Yeah.
It never ends. And so when I shoot film, I don't have to do that. I don't fuck with that. You figure out how it's going to look with the film you're shooting and your settings and your lens and your lighting. And that's the way it comes out. And it's like, when you finally get it, and it's like, oh my God, sometimes it's like, wow, that doesn't look anything like what I thought it would look, but it's cool. I don't have the patience, and digital editing is very subjective, right? And what looks good. And a lot of times I've shot digital and been like, oh, here's this. And the model's like, ooh, but let me, let me edit, and put my, and it's just like, it never ends. And I'm not great at it, I guess. Whether I just can't figure out what's the best. It's just never ending, the options. So I don't know if you understand what I'm saying, but
No, I definitely, what I was going to say is, I don't think that's a bad thing because like I do some retouching on some of my photos, but I've gotten to a point where it's very minimal or subtle because I get submissions for the magazines where the photos are just like so touched up, the filters and the blemishing removal, it's just like too much, and like I actually don't like the image anymore. Like if they had just left it alone or more raw, I think it would be a better image. So I think some people can go too far with that stuff, and
exactly.
I do
Sometimes it's like,
appreciate the
wow, this is
bonus.
like a dream. What is a dream sequence suddenly,
Yeah.
or something, which is cool. Hey, listen, I get it and I love it and I appreciate it all. And good for you that you're doing that. But coming from cinematography, I try to make it look real, like how it looked, certainly, try to make it, the colors pop and stuff. But every time I start pushing it and making it really, I don't like that either. I'm the same. I prefer to keep it looking kind of how it looked.
And
So
what's kind of been throwing me off lately too, and I don't know how I feel about it. It's like on Instagram on my feed or like the search feed where you get a bunch of random images. Like I'll see something that looks interesting, like where the image is kind of it's I have to blow it up to actually look at it. And once I do, like blow up the image to fill my phone screen, it's like, oh wait a minute, I think this is an AI image. Like it's getting to the point where I can't tell right
yeah.
away if it's a human being or if it's AI art or an AI photo. But what are your thoughts on what's going on with AI right now.
I mean, it's scary times. I know that professional photographers are on the ropes. I also know that, Hollywood, I work in Hollywood, and
Yeah,
dude, Hollywood is potentially turning into the new Detroit. Like, it's dying up. Work is scarce. It's being sourced out to Mexico and Canada to skirt unions, and AI is coming in. I mean, it's scary times. I recently got to work on a movie where it's a pretty big feature film, and they are specifically, the theme is anti AI and anti VR.
yeah.
And it's shot like in the not too distant future, where everybody has like a room that they go in and they can go meet their friends at a fucking bar. And and you're now living, you never like leave your house. Like, it's all VR and AI. And the movie was very much anti
Huh.
AI and VR. And this was shot by the main DP that already shot it, is this fabulous, amazing director of photography, and the director is this fabulous director. And they realized they needed a bunch of shots, but they would just source it out to AI or CGI. And they sent me these storyboards, and they're like, "Can you do this?" Like, the film was done, and they were like, "Oh, we need these shots. Can you do this? We don't want to, can you shoot this?" And they sent me these storyboards. I was like, "Yeah, I can," and literally had a friend of mine who's a, art department guy make up some props, and we did it all practically. And, like drowning sequences and shark attack stuff. And it was amazing to get that call, and to know that there's people out there that are, there's some people that are never gonna. I don't think it'll ever be as good. I really don't. Like, I just don't. I think that at this point, at least, I don't see it being as good as the real thing. I think
Right.
you can tell. You can tell. I can tell. We all can tell. An actor actually performing, and it's being shot. It's an art that I don't know that a computer can can replicate, at least at this point. So, but it's scary times indeed.
I've seen some filmmaker friends and people I look up to like embrace it because they don't think it's going away. And the one person actually listed himself as a AI film director now. So it's like, I don't know, it's interesting times.
I have an editor friend, and he was like, he did reality editing. And he's like, "Dude, I'm scared, no work and blah, blah, blah. And AI is going to take all our jobs." Now that guy has a production company that does AI commercials.
Uh,
I guess you're either gonna move with it, or it's just interesting times.
yeah.
It's kind of scary in general, but it is what it is, and we just gotta either move with the times or just fight, which is what I'm trying to do. So
My last question is how can people view your work and like what are some social media platforms that you use right now?
I'm almost entirely on Instagram as the Golden Gimp. I made a blue sky, as opposed to Elon Musk's X. I made a blue sky thing, which I'm not really on that much. I would just say, look, find me on Instagram. You know, I don't have like a Facebook page, and I don't have a Twitter/X account. I have a FetLife account that I'm rarely on. Don't ever really post on there. So that's about it.
Well, I'll make
I put some short films on there as well, on Instagram that I've done. So check them out.
I'll make sure to list your Instagram account on the show notes. And I appreciate you doing this interview. And we have a couple of your photo sets coming up in the quarter 4 issue of Cynical that I think people will enjoy.
Cool. Well, I'm glad we did this, and I appreciate you having me.